Welcome to the Scenario Podcast, your guide to mental health and well-being. Each episode, we uncover practical tools, discuss expert insights, and explore how supplements can transform your mental health journey. Get ready to learn, grow, and thrive with us.
So if you're wrestling with stress or anxiety, you know the feeling. That quest for calm, it almost always leads you straight into the supplement aisle. And if you've been there, you've seen it 100 different bottles, all promising relief. You probably walked out feeling more overwhelmed than when you went in.
Right. It's analysis paralysis.
Exactly. So our mission today is to cut right through that noise. We're moving beyond the anecdotal stuff, the trial and error approach.
We have to.
We're getting scientific, doing a deep dive into your source materials to see which natural compounds actually influence measurable biological systems, things like the HPA axis, GABA signaling, and inflammation. This is about giving you an informed choice.
A shortcut to effective management, not the guessing game.
Yes.
And their biological foundation is, well, it's absolutely everything. Stress and anxiety, they are complex, sure, but they're not just vague emotional states. They're the result of real, measurable physiological changes in your body and your brain.
Okay, so break that down for us. What's actually happening under the hood?
Under chronic stress, it's a pretty well-documented process. We see cortisol just elevate, and that leads to the dysregulation of what we call the HPA axis.
The body's central alarm system.
That's a great way to put it. It dictates how high and for how long your stress response burns. When it's chronically overactive, it suppresses your prefrontal regulation, your ability to think clearly, while it massively increases the activity of your amygdala,
The fear center.
the brain's fear center. And the practical result for you, the listener, is that horrible feeling. You're anxious, you're unfocused, and yet you feel wired at the same time.
You're just spinning your wheels.
Precisely. And what's so fascinating is that the most effective, evidence-based natural solutions, they target these exact pathways.
Yeah.
They're designed to modulate cortisol, to improve inhibitory neurotransmission via GABA,
Which is the brake pedal for the nervous system.
the brake pedal. Exactly.
Yeah.
And they also reduce that chronic inflammatory load that so often goes hand in hand with long-term stress.
Okay, let's unpack that. Why are we seeing such a massive shift toward these evidence-based natural solutions right now? It feels like the market has just exploded.
It has. It's really a convergence of accessibility and rigorous evidence standards finally catching up.
Right.
The sources confirm that for a huge number of people, what they're experiencing is, let's call it lifestyle-driven dysregulation.
Too little sleep, too much work, poor diet.
All of it. They're not necessarily dealing with a severe clinical anxiety disorder. So for that large group, prescription drugs can feel excessive. They often carry side effects and risks that just don't match the severity of their symptoms.
They want something gentler that helps restore balance, not something that forces a major chemical shift.
Exactly. And crucially, the evidence supporting these natural compounds is getting so much stronger. It's not just people saying they feel calmer anymore.
Right. We have objective measures now.
Absolutely. The clinical trials are now using validated scales, things like the DAS, the SHEA, and the PSS. And they're pairing that with physiological markers you can actually measure, like salivary cortisol and heart rate variability.
So we're seeing measurable shifts.
Definitive shifts. The source materials is very clear that the effects observed are definitively beyond what the placebo effect can explain. You can see the changes in cortisol patterns. You can see improved neurotransmitter signaling.
Which really reinforces the guiding principle of this whole deep dive.
It connects back to the most critical advice we can give. You have to choose supplements based on the biochemical pathway you need to influence.
Otherwise, you're just guessing.
To quote the material directly, you are guessing. Effective compounds, they support and restore existing systems. They regulate stress hormones, or they restore circadian alignment. They don't just force an abrupt chemical change.
Okay, so let's stop guessing. Let's jump right into the heavy hitters, the compounds with the absolute strongest clinical data. We have to start with ashwagandha. It's the highest profile adaptogen out there.
It is. It's the ultimate cortisol modulator.
And that's its whole job.
That is exactly its role. Ashwagandha directly interacts with and modulates the HPA axis. It essentially tells your adrenal glands to slow down their stress hormone output. It reduces your overall stress reactivity.
And it prevents that chronic cortisol elevation that drives all the bad stuff, the sleep disruption, mental fog. the emotional volatility.
Got it.
And this is where the data gets really compelling. I found one data point in the sources that was particularly striking.
Mhm.
Multiple randomized controlled trials show clear reductions of 20 to 30% in serum cortisol. What does that actually mean for someone day to day?
It means less stress
Yeah.
leaking into their system unnecessarily. If you are that person who wakes up at 3 a.m. with a checklist of everything you have to do running through your head,
Which is so many of us.
so many, that is often chronic nocturnal cortisol disruption. Ashwagandha is built for that exact profile. The person with high stress, poor sleep, and a huge mental and physical load.
Okay, so if you suspect your primary problem is constant stress hormone output, this is your frontline supplement.
It's your front line.
So that covers the slow burn, right? The long-term gear. But what about those moments when you need relief now? When you're facing a presentation or feeling that acute cognitive stress? That's where we pivot to L-theanine.
And L-theanine has a totally different mechanism. It's fascinating because it works on multiple levels, and crucially, it works quickly.
How so?
Its primary action is increasing alpha brainwave activity. That's the state you see associated with meditation relaxed, but highly alert. It also acts on GABA and glycine receptors.
I love that specific outcome. Calmness without sedation. It doesn't just make you sleepy.
Not at all.
Mm.
The sources confirm it significantly reduces anxiety responses during acute cognitive stress tests. It's perfect for those racing thoughts, that tension, that cognitive overload.
And that cognitive benefit, that comes from its ability to modulate glutamate,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, exactly. Glutamate is the brain's primary accelerator pedal.
Yeah.
When you're stressed, you flood your system with it. L-theanine helps pump the brakes on that excitatory activity. And unlike ashwagandha, which builds up over weeks, L-theanine works fast.
How fast?
We're talking within 30 to 60 minutes. It's ideal for that acute situational anxiety.
All right, moving on to something more foundational. Let's talk magnesium. This one sometimes gets dismissed as being too simple, but its regulatory role is profound.
It is profound. Magnesium is truly essential because it's a cofactor in hundreds of enzymatic reactions, and it's a key regulator of nervous system excitability.
So how does that link to stress?
Specifically, it regulates both NMDA and GABA receptors. So if you are even slightly deficient in magnesium, your brain becomes much more sensitive and reactive to stress signals. You become neurologically jumpy.
And for anyone struggling with sleep, the data is great here. Supplementation consistently lowers symptoms in people with mild anxiety, and, crucially, it improves sleep depth.
It improves slow-wave sleep in particular. And that link to deep sleep is vital because that's where your brain cleans up shop and consolidates emotional memory. Better slow-wave sleep is a powerful way to reset and stabilize the HPA axis.
So you get better rest, you react better to life's triggers the next day.
It's a positive feedback loop.
And the source material had a practical detail on this for the listener regarding absorption. Which forms should they be looking for? Because there are so many.
Always prioritize bioavailability.
Mm-hmm.
Magnesium glycinate is usually the preferred form because it's chelated with glycine, which is itself an inhibitory amino acid. It helps with calmness and absorption.
What about threonate?
Magnesium threonate is also highly favored because it's demonstrated an ability to cross the blood-brain barrier really effectively. The bottom line is stick to those forms to avoid the common GI issues you get with the cheaper oxides or citrates.
Okay, so that covers the core regulators. Let's broaden this out now to ingredients that target mood, inflammation, and resilience. Where do we start? Saffron and omega-3s.
Let's start with saffron. Specifically, standardized extracts like Affron, which have some of the strongest mood data we've reviewed. The meta-analyses are just. They're extremely strong. They show clear improvements in mild depressive and anxious symptoms.
Okay, hang on. Comparing a natural compound to a pharmaceutical, that is a massive claim. The source material says it's comparable to low-dose SSRIs in head-to-head studies. Are we really comparing apples to apples here?
That's a necessary challenge, and the source is careful to qualify that. We are talking about mild to moderate symptoms, and the studies are typically short-term, like 6 to 8 weeks.
Okay.
But the effect size is comparable, which is remarkable. The mechanism seems to be a dual action. Mild serotonin reuptake modulation, which helps boost mood, and significantly reduced inflammatory signaling.
So saffron is maybe the best choice if low mood and mild anxiety are intertwined for you.
That's a great way to think about it.
And inflammation is a thread running through all of this, isn't it? Which is where omega-3s fit in.
Omega-3s, particularly formulas that are EPA dominant, work primarily by reducing inflammation throughout the body and the brain. We know that neuroinflammation interferes with efficient serotonin and dopamine transmission, So by dampening that systemic inflammation, you stabilize mood and improve resilience.
But this isn't a quick fix.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Here's the caveat. This is a slow burn. Because you're addressing a foundational issue, chronic inflammation, the benefits build gradually. You really need to commit to 6 to 12 weeks of consistent use before you see those stabilizing effects. It's a long-term strategic play.
Shifting gears to resilience, let's talk rhodiola rosea. How does that stack up against ashwagandha? They're both adaptogens.
They are, but its action is much more stimulating. Rhodiola is excellent for reducing fatigue under stress. It improves mental and physical performance. It helps your body conserve energy and focus when you're facing a demanding situation.
So it's for the person who feels depleted, drained, the one who needs a cognitive boost just to keep going.
Exactly.
So it is not for the person who already feels wired. That's a crucial distinction.
Absolutely not. It influences neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine, and it can be activating, even overstimulating for those who already feel wired and tense. You have to match the adaptogen to your state. Ashwagandha for high cortisol and poor sleep, rhodiola for exhaustion and depletion.
And underpinning all of this are the B vitamins, almost like the forgotten foundation.
They are foundational. B vitamins, specifically B6, B9, and B12. They aren't direct anxiolytics, but they are essential cofactors supporting the synthesis of all your key neurotransmitters.
Serotonin, dopamine, GABA.
All of them. So correcting deficiencies prevents mood instability. They literally prevent the bottom from falling out of your system.
And we can't talk foundational health without spending a bit more time on the gut-brain connection.
This is critical and so often overlooked. The gut-brain axis affects anxiety in fascinating ways, through inflammation, through signaling molecules, and vagus nerve signaling.
The gut makes most of our serotonin, right? But it's more complex than that.
Much more. Specific probiotic strains, like Lactobacillus rhamnosus and Bifidobacterium longum, have shown they can send signals up the vagus nerve, the superhighway between the gut and brain, to reduce overall stress signaling. They also help improve the gut barrier, reducing that systemic inflammation that drives poor mood.
Which means we're not just talking about a generic probiotic from the yogurt aisle.
Correct. You need targeted strains that have clinical data behind them, especially if chronic inflammation or digestive issues are already part of your stress presentation. A generic blend just isn't going to cut it for specific mood support.
Okay, we've covered the what and the why. Let's get intensely practical now. The how much and the how long, let's address the timeline trap. People quit too soon.
They do. They expect instant results.
So let's review those onset times based on mechanism. L-theanine is fast, 30 to 60 minutes. Magnesium, a few days to a week to saturate the system. Ashwagandha requires consistent use, taking 2 to 6 weeks for those deep HPA axis effects. And omega-3s are the slow burn 6 to 12 weeks to really impact neuroinflammation.
And precision dosing is paramount. For clinical results, you should be looking for ashwagandha standardized extract at 300 to 600 milligrams, L-theanine at 200 to 400 milligrams, and magnesium, whether it's glycinated threonate, at 200 to 400 milligrams of elemental magnesium per day.
Doses outside those ranges produce unreliable results.
Unreliable results.
Yeah.
We also need to talk about combining these rationally, defining what true synergy actually is.
Yeah, give us a clear, rational example of synergy from the sources. Why would someone take 3 different things instead of just one?
Synergy only works when the mechanisms complement each other without being redundant. So if you're dealing with chronic, high-level stress with poor sleep, a rational stack would be ashwagandha for that long-term cortisol modulation,
Okay.
plus magnesium for acute GABA balance and deep sleep support,
Right.
and then B vitamins for foundational neurotransmitter synthesis. Those 3 mechanisms work on 3 distinct parts of the stress equation. That makes the whole greater than the sum of its parts.
Combining without that logic is just wasted effort.
Or worse, unwanted side effects.
Okay, before we wrap up, we absolutely have to issue the crucial warnings. Influencing cortisol or neurotransmission is not risk-free.
And we can't stress enough the importance of medical supervision. This is non-negotiable if you take prescription medications, period. There are real significant interactions.
What are the big ones to watch for?
You absolutely need oversight if you're on common medications like SSRIs, SNRIs, benzodiazepines, or ADHD stimulants.
And the sources mentioned thyroid medication specifically?
Yes. Specifically, both ashwagandha and rhodiola are known to interact with thyroid medication because they can slightly modulate thyroid hormone production. Do not guess in those scenarios.
We also need to touch on a couple of popular but potentially risky compounds, starting with kava.
Kava is extremely popular for anxiety, but we have to urge extreme caution. It carries documented risks of hepatotoxicity,
Damage.
liver damage, yes, especially when combined with alcohol or certain medications or when the sourcing is unreliable. The risk profile, according to the sources, is simply too high for general unsupervised use.
And what about CBD? It's everywhere. Is it a reliable anxiolytic?
CBD is a compound with really high variability. The biggest issue is product quality. So many products are inaccurately labeled. And what's more, the dose required to achieve clinical anxiety-reducing effects is often much higher than what most people use.
Hundreds of milligrams a day sometimes.
Exactly. So given the cost and the quality inconsistency, the sources suggest it's difficult to recommend CBD as a first-line reliable solution compared to something like L-theanine or magnesium.
This deep dive really reveals the value of informed choice, doesn't it? You're no longer just throwing darts at a wall of supplements. You're choosing tools based on their specific function.
Exactly. The core takeaway here is simple. Match the supplement's mechanism, whether it's HPA axis regulation, inhibitory support, or anti-inflammation, to your specific symptom profile. By understanding the underlying biology, you avoid that trap of trial and error, and you achieve far more consistent, reliable outcomes.
And as a final provocative thought for you to chew on, we spent a lot of time on B vitamins and magnesium as foundational nutrients. But what about choline?
An interesting one.
Yeah, emerging research is focusing on the connection between low brain choline levels and elevated anxiety. Choline is essential because it drives acetylcholine synthesis, a neurotransmitter that directly governs stress reactivity and your parasympathetic tone, your rest and digest system. And while it's not a frontline supplement yet, research suggests correcting low choline status may reduce anxiety for specific subgroups, particularly those with poor diets. It just raises the huge question, what foundational nutrient might you be missing right now that is contributing to your overall stress load? Something to look into.
Thanks for tuning in to the Scenario Podcast. Don't forget to visit scenario.com for more expert tips, articles, and supplements designed to support your mental health. If you enjoyed this episode, remember to subscribe and share it with a friend. Until next time, take care of yourself.